I'll be going through my favorite brushes, the ones I'm using when I'm sketching. So most of the times I get questions like, which brush did you use when making this and that? So I'll be going through my brush. So if you see from this place, the favorite, these are my favorite brushes, the ones I use almost on each work I've been sketching. So the first brush there, which is this, the first brush there, that's the one I use for sketch. If I want to make the outline, I use the first brush. Not only the first brush, but these first two here, I use them for the sketch. Now the differences between the first one and the second one there is that the first one can go to a size less than 1.0. What I mean is that this first brush, as you can see, the size here is 0.6, but the other brush there, it cannot go below 1.0. It can only go from 1.0 above, while the other brush there can go to 0.1. So whenever I want to sketch something that I don't want the outline to be very thick, I use the first one. If I want the outline to be thick around 1.0 precisely, I use the second one. This third brush here, they are almost the same. This third and the fourth, they are almost the same. So I use the third one the most to put down my base colors. It's a hard brush there, so if I want to paint, put down my base color, I use it. And this one, I use it for the hair. If I want to make hair, I want to add shade, put some shading on the hair, that's what I use this brush for. It's a very nice brush for working on your hair, especially when it comes to girls' hair, the ladies. You can use that for it. The next brush I have here, these are the two airbrushes I use. The first one is the soft airbrush, and the second one is the hard airbrush. So I use those two for my skin shading, clothes shading, and anything that has to do with shading. I use those two brushes for my shading. Then I have the two erasers. The first one is the hard eraser, the second one is the soft eraser. So if for example you put something down on your canvas and you want to clean it, you don't want any like opacity there or transparency on what you want to clean, you can use the hard airbrush. Or if you want it to have like a gradient on it, you can use the soft airbrush. Sometimes I use this for whenever I'm working on men hair, like this fade haircut. So you can use that one to fade the side, and mostly sometimes for blending. If you want to make the hair to have this gradient, you can use that brush for that. And this is the hard edge airbrush. Is also an airbrush which one part of it is hard and the other part is it's like a gradient. So sometimes if I'm shading and I want to have like hard edge on my shading, I use this brush for that. So if you go through my video, the ones I've made, I know probably you'll see me using this brush, most especially on the clothes I made for one of my videos that is here on YouTube. The clothes I shaded, I believe I used this brush. From here I have the texture brushes there, so I use this one for hair too, and sometimes beards and other things. Then most of them is for hair. Most of these texture brushes, I use them when I'm working on hair. So sometimes it's actually good for you to just go through the brushes, and probably you discover a brush that one day you use for something when working on your artwork. So most of these texture brushes, I actually use them for the hair. So the rest of the brushes, I don't use them that much. Even if I use them, they are probably for making my background. So but it depends on the work and what I want to get. So sometimes if the brushes I have been using regularly are not going to give me what I need, I have to look for another brush. And actually sometimes I have to change the settings to manipulate the size of the brush and shape of the brush for me to get what I want. So but as a beginner, if you're a beginner, the brushes you need the most, I believe it should be these favorites here. The first and second brushes that I use them for the sketch. Then the third and fourth for the this and this, I use them for putting down my base color. This for the hair, and this for shading: soft airbrush, hard airbrush, hard eraser, soft eraser, airbrush, hard edge airbrush. So these are the brushes I use when sketching.